realist and just look around us. I think I'm being pretty realistic, but it's just a lot to wrap your head around. It's one thing. It's fun talking about like this expansion and what could happen here in this fantasy league and but then you start getting into like the transfer windows and the newest rules that aren't really even rules anymore. And it's just a lot to kind of digest sometimes. And today's just a day where it's like, man, okay, so this is now this and that's that. And how does that lead to this eventually? And and I'm just sitting here at a table. Like, imagine what Dave Aranda or Jimbo Fisher or Steve Sarkisian or anybody else you want to throw out there, presidents, commissioners, like, what are they going through? Because I'm sitting here getting stressed out thinking about, like, there's not even transfer laws anymore, basically, and how that stresses me out just thinking about roster management. You think Dave Aranda's a little stressed out by that? That every single year, no matter what you do, the kid you just signed 10 months ago is now a free agent. Well, look, and there's nothing you can do about it. Every member of your team, the guy that just won a Heisman for you, could go play for your biggest rival the next year. No punishment whatsoever. And I get it, the free flow of players. I'm not arguing against that. It's just weird, man. It's weird, and to act like it's not weird is weird to me.
To highlight how far we've come from where the NCAA had too many rules to where they have now like 4, there used to be a department in the NCAA that would break down. There was rules about cream cheese. You could have bagels but not cream cheese in recruiting because of the price points of cream cheese and how schools couldn't afford it, but bagels were pretty much the same everywhere. And they had those kind of silly rules where you could get in trouble if you had cream cheese for your bagels. Or if you offered peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, the peanut butter and the jelly had to be generic brands. Like you couldn't go out and spring for Jif.
It had to be Hill Country.
Yeah, you couldn't spring for Jif.
Think about this. Yeah. This is unrealistic, but there's a lot of things that I feel like have been called unrealistic over the last, 12, 15 months that are now very much realistic, that people said, oh, that's stupid. Why are you worrying about it? It's just one little rule. Isn't that how it always starts? It's just one little thing, right? And then that just snowballs. But in theory, in today's college football or today's college sports, you could be the starting quarterback your freshman year at Oklahoma, your sophomore year at Ohio State, your junior year at Texas, and your senior year at Michigan. Mm-hmm. And you could do that if you want to and not sit a single second. You can make millions of dollars doing it. And like, hey, I know there's people like, hey, applaud that. I'm not applauding that. I think that's amazing. It's just hard to kind of wrap your head around that's all there and possible these days. And it's just, I think for college football fans is, why am I going to get so invested in the recruiting side of things if these guys can just up and leave at any moment's notice, basically whenever they want to? It's harder to, and I don't blame the players, and I certainly feel for the coaches, but I also know that they share some of the blame because they're the ones that were leaping at a moment's notice for millions of dollars, so they're hypocrites if they complain about it. But just for someone like me who likes a little bit of structure and just likes to kind of know where the pieces go, it's just kind of hard to even know what's going on sometimes.
I had somebody this morning, a friend of mine, asked me because I hadn't seen him in a while, what I thought about Arch Manning going to Texas. And while I do think Arch Manning, because he's a Manning, will probably stick there. I mean,
well, according to he's only going to be there 3 years. I mean, based on what everybody says about him.
He'll stay. He'll stay there. He'll be a Longhorn and just a Longhorn. But I said, well, I mean, if he winds up ever playing there, I'm sure it's great for them. But I don't know, like. Now I can't even, for people that I would say.
Even programs, Paul, are you saying this, that have always or never had to worry really about losing somebody good? Once they have them and they're good, they even have to be on alert.
Look, Texas has all the advantages to keep people, and they've never really, when they lose people in the transfer portal, they're not usually lamenting that. It hasn't, because the guys they thought were 4 stars or 5 stars.
They're not going to lose Bijan Robinson to USC or something like that.
But
was there not a story about Xavier Worthy in USC this summer?
Now it's realistic that they could.
Yeah.
All Steve Sarkisian would have to do, and I don't think that he has, but Bo Davis, like Bo Davis, the defensive line coach, gets mad and yells at a guy. Well, now there's nothing stopping him other than the day he can actually enter the transfer portal.
All it takes is a teammate or an assistant who's got a friend on another staff saying, hey, man, Bo Davis got into it with Jerry Smith earlier today. Yeah. I think he's unhappy. If you give him a call, he might be interested in listening to what you have to say. And that's not – and like that sounds like just some stupid idea. That's totally plausible in what we're dealing with right now. And that's fine. And I don't want to make it sound like I complain. I'm just like talking out loud because I'm trying to figure it out myself of just how to wrap my head around the whole deal, much less how coaches and players and university presidents and all of them are trying to wrap their heads around it. And then you add in just, realignment to the foray, and you add in expansion, and it's a lot, man. It's a lot to digest, and it's fun as fans and it's fun as media, but it's just a lot.
The other thing is, just because you have a right to do something or you have the ability to and you should be allowed to, doesn't mean you have to do it.
Well, most won't.
So most won't. But
99% won't do anything. But there will definitely be guys that take advantage.
But yeah, and there are going to be, and then this rule affects basketball, like Max said, probably much more than football, because it's easier to look at a basketball roster and go, nope, I can go there, than it maybe is a football roster, especially if you're not a quarterback. But yeah, I mean, there are, most people won't do it, but it does probably weigh some concern in that if you are a guy who can hop around positions like a quarterback, you could go, okay, well, I started my freshman year because of an injury. I did okay, but then that guy came back and he was better than me, so I'm leaving my sophomore year. Well, didn't really work out, or I could be at a better place the next year. Yeah, you could see. Four schools in 4 years.
Yeah, but I mean that kind of happens though. The guys who leave a place because their playing time's being reduced. I'm saying a guy could go win the Heisman and then go play for his rival the next year because they offered him $5 million. Yeah. And like in business wise and capitalism and all, hey, great for him. Like I'm not knocking that, but just the idea of that, again, it's hard to wrap my head around as a college football fan, and it's hard to really feel like this is the college football. Not that I want to go back to the era of not paying players. That's the opposite of what I want. But just the lack of loyalty, which again brings up the coaches example. But I think you know what I'm saying. It's just different. And whether it's good or bad different remains to be seen, but it's different.
From the 239, and I do believe that a lot of people feel this way, no matter his fan base or his favorite team. And I do think that it would be interesting to get a poll from college football fans, which we have, by the way, with the chat room and the text line, et cetera, is I think if you're part of those who are ahead of the curve when it comes to the arms race, and you've never really had to worry about, who's in your backyard or your front yard, I think you don't care.
No, that's what I said earlier, yeah.
Yeah. This is from the 239. I love the show. Listening to from Cape Coral, Florida.
Hometown. There we go.
What's up? Really?
Yeah, Fort Myers right there. Cape Coral.
It feels like what they are doing, whoever they are, is trying to ruin a great sport. If it comes to pass that we have a playoff with only only two conferences, I will no longer watch anything they put out. Don't the ADs understand I'm not alone in these thoughts? It was bad enough when UCF had a 25-game winning streak and still couldn't break the playoff. It is nothing but a monopoly. Go Knights.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big M word there is absolutely right. But, yeah, I don't know. It's just, okay, I do know. I do know what Mac Rhodes said yesterday in regards to that is they consider the fan, but they're so caught up in what's going on in front of them, whether that be the realignment piece or the expansion piece or the NIL piece or whatever. You got to realize that their heads are on swivels constantly. And so Mac Rhodes basically said, like, we're so busy that you don't even have time to even think about that perspective. And as we heard from Bill Hancock, college football playoff executive a week ago, they don't really care what you do because they don't believe you're really going to stop watching. That's what Bill Hancock basically said in those exact words last week. He doesn't believe you're going to stop watching if they keep consolidating. You're still going to watch. You're still going to watch. You're still going to watch because you're going to be tempted by Ohio State, Clemson, followed by Ohio State versus A&M, followed by Ohio State versus Michigan. And that does sound kind of fun, but they're banking on the fact that you're not going anywhere. And Bill Hancock, head of the playoff, said that days ago on this station to us, to our faces in Arlington. So that's what they're banking on. So for any idea of they're going to have this thought go off of, what, we're kind of pushing away a lot of our fans. I know they're not necessarily like Buckeyes and Wolverines and all the big fan bases that we care about, but they are a special part of the fabric that makes up college football. They're basically lighting that fabric on fire and assuming that all of you are just going to go run to the places they want you to run to, and you're not going anywhere as far as fans. You're just going to change your allegiance and, join a blue blood rather than still support Kansas State. That's what they're banking on. But you're not going anywhere, according to Bill Hancock and the TV exec. So they don't really care.
The TV,
but it doesn't matter if you're not a Michigan or Ohio State or Texas or Alabama fan.
But yeah,
right?
but and they don't care about you anyway. So whether you move or not, it doesn't matter regardless. But they're banking that you probably will still watch.
The TV execs should know this in that, especially, okay, ESPN is owned by Disney, right? Disney is a gigantic, massive entertainment company, and they've had to change their strategy multiple times. Now, it's not surprising to me that they're building up one brand, considering that they know their strategy works of, what do? They do Marvel, they do Star Wars, they do Pixar, they do, those are the things they push at you because they know that's what's going to make money. But history shows you in the entertainment business, look, how many Westerns do we get nowadays, right? Like one every couple years it's any good?
Yeah, I was trying to think. Yeah, maybe.
Okay, used to, movie studios kind of said, we're going to put every Western out ever, and you will watch them because we tell you to. Well, guess what happened? People stopped. Right now, maybe a more modern, when's the last really good year of more than one action movie that came out? Action movies aren't really that popular anymore. They used to be in the late 90s. I'd go watch Nicolas Cage, break into a prison or blow up a plane or whatever. Now, doesn't happen all that often. You know why? Because people's opinions change. So you will watch something that we tell you to watch. The entertainment executives that are running this should know that is not a winning strategy for a long time.
All right, Garrett, I just sent you an email. There's a Baylor football story about adding a quarterback to their